Do you think UFOs, the paranormal, weird history, cryptozoology, and outsider art are pretty darn cool? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to High Strangeness with your host, Steve Berg.
The video version. Oh, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of High Strangeness. Today, I am very excited to have on my new buddy, Michael David Strayer, author and host over the fantastic Moth Boys podcast. Michael, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. I'm down here in West Virginia. Snowed in. Not really snowed in, but a lot of snow. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, we had that in common because my wife is a teacher and she had a snow day today. We are currently getting dumped on right now. And it's the first snow of the year here in Nebraska, which is really weird.
Right. I also want to point out before we get into this, I like your background. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like a bunch of junk on,
I like it. I'm actually getting tired of. I've had the space background now for like 6 months or something like that, and I'm like, I need to switch it up. I'm thinking about maybe going to like a.
I do have the hand from Talk to Me. Have you seen that movie before?
I have not seen that movie.
You should watch it. It's creepy, man. It's a good one.
It's been on my queue for a long time. I don't know. I only watch horror movies with my wife, and she falls asleep so early to movies. It'll be like the credits are just like rolling, and she's passed out on the couch.
Yep, it happens.
And so
man. I get it.
Then I end up watching like Commando or something like that for the 97th time.
Which that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, that's what Tubi's great for, man. It's all these old like B horror, kind of like crappy movies that I love.
Yep.
I love bad movies.
Yep.
Well, man, right off the bat, I was kind of mentioning to you, like, I really enjoy your podcast. You also sent me all these books that we're going to get into that I just find so wonderful. First off, the choices of cases were perfect. And
good.
But there is a tone and a vibe that y'all have on your show and, you with these books that really resonates with me. There is, it's oozing with passion for the topics, yet you're not taking yourself or the encounters too seriously. Like, there's passion. I think I'm attracted to people who are passionate about this stuff, but like, I do feel that like you also have this like kind of like sense of humor about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We were just talking about that. And I think with some of this stuff, you kind of have to, I feel like you can go about this in a silly way without hurting people's feelings, which we may have done on our podcast in the past when we first started. We try not to do that. I feel like I would think we do a pretty good job of that. But a lot of this stuff is like fun. Like the Mothman. Just look at Mothman. That's just the wildest flightless monster. Any of those, any cryptid creature. It's just strange, and it's Sometimes you just gotta laugh at it because it's so out there, So.
I think so too. As long as you're not laughing about the trauma of people, because there is, look, when you see Veggie Man, it's gonna be, maybe a little traumatic.
Yes, getting your blood sucked out by an alien creature. That's gonna be a little weird and a little traumatic. Yeah.
Right. But so, I know now you live in West Virginia, which, gosh, lucky. That place is one of the states with a lot of the good stuff and quite the array. But you were originally from upstate New York. Am I right about that?
Western New York. Yeah.
Western New York. I'm sorry.
It's like
it's sad. Anything that's not New York City, I'm like, that's upstate New York.
Dude, I get that. That is what people always like. Oh, you're from New York. How's the city? And I'm like 7-8 hours from there. That's like I'm on the opposite side of the state. But yeah, no, it's Western New York. I'm from lived out in the country. Was born and raised out in the country in a little town called Asheville. But it's like an hour outside of Buffalo, hour and a half.
Okay.
So that's the closest big city. Erie, Pennsylvania, too, is right there. So,
sure. Oh, speaking of snow, that is a place that, historically just kind of receives the worst of it.
So we're like right between those two things. So we also get just like I grew up with, we would never have snow days at our school. We'd be up to our heads in snow, and they would still tell us to come in. You know what I mean? So no snow days for us.
Oh man, that's a bummer. I feel like nowadays, if there's more than like 2 or 3 inches, I call it. At least in Nebraska, we used to get a ton of snow. Like growing up, as a ton of snow, and now it's like we just are getting our first snow of the year in February, which is odd. And it like 2 weeks ago it was like 60 degrees. So I'm like, things are changing.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Probably not good.
I do live in West Virginia now. I live in outside of Morgantown, West Virginia,
Right.
which still isn't too far from home. It's like 3 hours from New York, where I grew up. So it's not all that far away. So
that's great. So did you kind of like, I guess, let me just get into it. What is your origin story of being into 40ana? Did it start in Western, like where you grew up in New York, and were you attracted to like the local stuff? Like, give me the 411, baby.
Well, there's not too much like local stuff. I mean, you'll get your cases of like Bigfoot and UFOs and stuff like that, ghosts. But there's no like really out there stuff.
Right.
Initially, my mom was really into Bigfoot and like ghost shows and stuff like that. So that's really where it came from. I mean, her love of like just ghosts and Bigfoot and stuff. She's had some strange stories too. My mom, you might want to have her on the show. Actually, you might want to have Linda on. She's like seen UFOs and little. I don't know how to say it other than little like gnomes or elves, maybe, or like an elf type person. Yeah, so like she's seen some wild stuff. But that's where I got my love of it. And my dad took us to go see me and my two brothers to go see Mothman Prophecies in the theaters when it came out. That was the real the thing that kicked the door open. I think was seeing that movie. Yeah, that was like a real like I had never heard of the book. I had no idea this stuff existed. So seeing that movie really opened my eyes. And a lot of people will tell you that they're not. It doesn't really stick to the book or anything. But I think that movie's fantastic, and it's aged so well. I watch it once or twice a year still, and I think it's so good.
It does kind of get a bad rap because like it doesn't stick like obviously straight to the book, but like I've read Mothman Prophecies like probably 3 or 4 times. I love it. It's such a fun book. But I'm not sure how you would like cover all that stuff.
It's mixed, it's so scatterbrained a little bit, So
I mean, maybe if you made it into like a limited series, like a 10 episode thing, you could kind of weave in and out of different stories. But like even then, I feel like it would be messy. I think in terms of making a feature film out of it, like they did the best they could. I remember enjoying it. I'm literally writing right down like rewatch Mothman Prophecies.
But no, I mean. So we saw that movie and it like opened my mind to this whole different world. And it scared my little brother. We took my little brother too, and he was scared for like the next week. I mean, he couldn't like sleep. He was having nightmares and stuff.
Yeah,
my poor brother. But that movie it was a big one for me. And then from there, it just made me want to go into all these. I don't think I did it right away, but later on in my teen years, I got into like the string. So I was probably I don't even know. 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there when I saw Mothman Prophecies. And it wanted me to get into like the smaller cases, the real strange stuff, like the one-offs. So yeah. And like I said, we don't really have any like huge cases in Western New York like that. Like I said, it's like your typical ghosts, Bigfoots, and that kind of stuff. But yeah.
But when you're, I'm sorry, just to go back to when your mother's experiences when she saw the gnomes, was that in Western New York?
Yeah, it was Western New York. It's the city called Jamestown, New York. It's where our claim to fame there was Lucille Ball was born in Jamestown, New York. So
that's a big one. I mean, she's one of the greats.
Yeah, but I guess it was her and her father were driving, and like they were going through a park, and like they saw something running from their car, and they got out real quick, and it ran off and jumped down into like a ravine type thing. But all they could describe was like a tiny little person. Like I don't know. Super cool stuff.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'd rather see a gnome or something from the Fae category than probably anything else. Honestly, like
you think so? Yeah.
I'm a junkie for a forest elemental, my friend. Mainline that stuff into my arm. I love the Fae.
You just go hang out in the woods, just calling them. Come on out, guys. Dude, I'm here.
I mean, you know what? All jokes aside, when I have my friend Lucinda Morel, who was on the show kind of early on. She is she's had a lot of experiences, and she's always like, whenever you go for a walk, even in your local park in the city, she's like, give a little offering, say hello,
Uh-huh.
thanks for letting me walk. And I do that stuff. I'm like
I love it.
full. I'm fully in. I am always trying to elicit some kind of weird experience.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
when I'm driving through the woods of West Virginia down here. I'm always keeping an eye out. You know what I mean? Just in case. You never know.
Well, you should. I want to tell you this. I about 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, I cannot remember. Myself and some friends, we met up in Point Pleasant and did the whole.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Which really, honestly, really was like such a bucket list thing. I
Mhm.
loved it. I absolutely had the best time. Went to the
Mhm.
TNT area, all the stuff. Went to Braxton, visited the Flatwood
Oh, cool.
Monastery
Yes.
site.
Yep.
You know, you can't actually it's private property, I think, now where it actually happened.
No. Yeah,
So
the
you can't
people that
go
own it aren't a fan of letting people go up. They don't want people up there. You know,
We tried.
Which kind of sucks.
Fair
but-
enough.
Yeah.
It sucks, but fair enough. I get it. I don't know if I'd
Yeah.
want a bunch of wackadoos like myself going,
Right.
"Oh, okay, see what happened."
Let me look at some trees here. Yeah.
But if
That-
he, was industrious, I mean, I would charge you. You could probably charge $20 a head and make some side
That's what I
money.
was gonna be. I was gonna like, we should go up there and just like offer some money. Just like, man, I'll give you like $100 right now and let us in. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
don't
that's amazing. So, what brought you to West Virginia from Western New York?
So I moved around. I went to Western New York, and then I lived in Miami, Florida for 5 years. That was pretty wild. I've never been to a place like that,
Mhm.
and
I bet.
and then I made my way up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I was there for 5 years. And then I love Pittsburgh. Shout out
too.
to Pittsburgh. That's such a
Me too.
cool city, man. I'm a big fan.
Yep.
And we don't live too far from Pittsburgh. That's where I go to concerts and stuff. So it's like an hour and 20 minutes or so. So, yeah, I went from Pittsburgh, and then love brought me to West Virginia, I guess, essentially. My wife lives down. Yeah, my wife lived here, and then we just started. It was during the COVID times. I
No kidding.
COVID hit, and we were talking, and then I came down, and I didn't go back to Pittsburgh. I went up and grabbed my stuff, and I just stayed down in West Virginia. So that's what happened
That
there. So,
is beautiful. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. You know what's interesting is my wife's family is from the Connellsville area, which
mhm.
that's like under an hour from Morgantown, man.
Yeah, it's
gonna have
close.
to I go there a couple times a year. We're gonna have to get together for a nice lunch one of these.
Let's
one of
go.
these times.
Let's get some pizza and go out looking for weird stuff, man. I'd love that.
Dude, yes. And where she
Yeah.
lives is right by the Chestnut Ridge, which like it is.
Yeah.
Talk about it's the UFO Bigfoot
Is
connection.
it Kecksburg? Is near Kecksburg?
Yep, it's
Yeah.
probably 20 minutes from Kecksburg. I've been
Mhm.
there. I always make my nieces and nephews go with me. I have to bribe them into like a nice lunch, but they're like, "Good Lord, Uncle Steve, you're so weird." I'm like, "I'm sorry."
We got to take another picture of Uncle Steve at the statue. His
I have, like-
50th one.
It's honestly like I have way too many pictures by that acorn at this point.
Have you been to the UFO festival?
You
Yeah.
know, it's funny. Every time I've gone, I'm always the week before or like the week after.
Mm.
I've never hit it, but like I'm hoping this summer to go because I really do want to go. It looks fun and adorable.
Right. I love that I think you're the same as I don't call myself like a researcher or investigator, but I do love to go to spots where things have happened and just be in the area, just feel the presence. Like I work
yeah.
Grafton a lot. So the story of the grafted monster obviously happened there.
Oh, we're getting to that. We're definitely gonna get to that.
Well, I just go there and hang out, just like on breaks and stuff. I'll just go sit there and just be there. You know, like I said, I don't really investigate anything. I just like being in areas where strange stuff has happened. It's just brings me a thrill. You know what I mean? So
Wow, we might be related because for me, it's funny. I kind of tell the story where I discovered that I do love this. I remember I was with Joshua Cutchin. We're sitting in the back seat of a car. We are literally driving to Braxton to try to go to the place where the Flatwoods Monster thing happened.
Mhm.
We discovered it was like rainy, and I think I was like tired and maybe a little hungover. But like we ended up not being able to get on the property, and for some reason in my head, I'd really built it up that we were going to be able to go.
Mhm.
And I remember going, "Oh man, I'm so disappointed we couldn't go." And then Josh looks at me, he puts his hand on my shoulder, and goes, "Steve, it doesn't matter. We got the magic of place."
Mhm.
We were able to feel,
Mhm.
and I was like, "God, you're so right."
Mhm.
And since then, I've really just like, I don't need to like see anything, but like I can, like you, stand in a cornfield where
Mhm.
something might have been seen, 60 years ago, and like to me, that's like seeing like the Eiffel Tower.
Right. Right. Like, because I think that there's a couple. We had like an event last year, and at the after party, me and Tony Breeden is his name. He's an author, and then a researcher named Cole Harold. We were all hanging out together, and we think that we pinpointed, because I think that I found the road where the Veggie Man encounter happened. I'm pretty sure that I found it. So I think I found the road. So I like to go out there just to be there. I think it's the road. I don't even know if it's the road, but I like to be there because it's a possibility. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, we think we pinpointed the place that the encounter happened. We were trying to find some family members to try to figure that out. But yeah, more on that later, I guess. But
well, let me tell you, first off, as far as I define these two words, like, I think you are both a researcher and investigator. I think when you're going to these places, well, I mean, you're investigating. I mean, you were trying to find, you're pinpointing, and you're also researching. Like,
that's true.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be like how you, fill out your tax forms necessarily.
Right.
I don't think,
I would never use it as like a job. It's definitely a hobby, and I know that. And
me too.
My job and my reality comes first. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When it all comes to this. So yeah.
Well, it's but like it's it's one of these things where it's like hobbies. While I think the word hobby sometimes kind of denotes that it's this thing that you don't really take seriously. You do it a couple times a year. You have a chance. Like, it doesn't have to be like that if you're if like because like I feel like this stuff is more than a hobby to me. Yeah. But yet, to most people, it would just be a seeming hobby. But like, work is obviously, I have to have a job and make money. And this stuff doesn't pay, really.
No.
Unfortunately.
No, I think that we lose money, actually, most of the time.
We lose money. It definitely, I have not made a dollar. But but the thing is, like, you can take it seriously. It can be a part of your life. And it's like you just talking about finding the Veggie Man road. Now that road that you have found is enchanted.
Right. I've made it something in my head. And it's also like, it's this stuff I think about all the time. It's not like, and I think that makes it more than a hobby in a sense, because it's always, this kind of stuff's always in my head. It's always like, what design can I work on an artist with? What book can I come up with? But yeah, I'm always thinking about this kind of stuff. And it's like not obsession. It might be, I don't know. But it's just a complete love, like a pure love for this kind of stuff. And that's what I feel for it. So.
And that comes through in your work, in your show. And that's why I'm like, I like this guy. I've never even spoken to him, but he gets it, man.
I try to. Yeah.
Well, it is kind of a funny thing. Like, I do think about like my obsession with the stuff, which I've had my whole life. And I think it definitely, like, if I go to an art gallery or something like that, I'm looking at a bunch of paintings, I will inevitably, without trying to do it, use a high strange Fortean lens. I'm like, oh, well, that could be like,
right.
Like,
yeah.
it just becomes a fun way to look at life, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. You just try to pull that out of it, just try to pull I get that. Yeah.
So tell me if you wouldn't mind, like, how did the Moth Boys, first off, how did the Moth Boys get formed? The podcast, your little, your crew, give me the origin story, if you will.
Yeah. So it's me and my brother, Matt, and our like childhood friend Jacob, and we went to the Mothman Festival in 2017 or 18, one of those years. And so what we did was like we were walking around. We're just like, this is amazing. This is like a community that we want to be a part of. It seems cool.
Right.
Everybody we've met is really nice, and like everybody's just being weirdos, and we felt connected with that. And so like we're like, how can we get a table at this festival next year? That was like our thing. So like, how can we be a part of this community somehow?
Right.
And it started off as like a weird like t-shirt company. Like we didn't get anything off the ground, but it like started off in our heads like, maybe we could do like take album covers and do cryptids. You know what I mean? Like one of my ideas was like Meat is Murder by the Smiths. But like a chupacabra or something with like a helmet on or something. Yeah. But
that's incredible.
Yeah,
by the way, it's a great album. Great album.
Morrissey, he just needs to shut up every once in a while. But the Smiths,
he's lost his mind. But like the
Smiths
really are amazing. Yeah,
amazing stuff. You can't deny that. But that's how it started. Was like this weird like t-shirt idea, and they were like, well, man, let's do a podcast. Let's everybody's doing it. Anybody can do a podcast. So
sure,
like, we could figure it out. So, and that's how we just did it. And we emailed I think it was Jeff Wamsley who does the Mothman Festival, and we're like, we have a podcast now. Let us in. Let us do this. Let us do your festival. And he's like, there's a super long wait list, as we found out. And he's like, okay, well, I'll let you know if anybody drops or anything. So we heard back. I don't know how long after that, and he's like, I want you guys to come down and set up a table. And we were like now where we set up, because we go to the Mothman Festival every year now. We set up, and we're like near the statue under the big tent where like there's a million people.
Hell yeah.
But that first year we were there, we were on the outskirts of like the city essentially set up. You know what I mean? We were way out there. We were like paying our dues. You know what I mean? We had to like work up.
Yeah.
But like we were so happy to be there. Like we were so proud and so happy to be there. And we would still be out there if we had to be. It doesn't matter to us. But yeah, I mean, we just met so many cool people. That's how it initially started. Was just like us trying to get into the community, and like because we like weird stuff. We've all been, me and my brother have been together forever, and we're friends. We know how to laugh with each other. Our best friend Jake, we just have like what we've heard from like a lot of reviews is like it just feels like people are sitting in a room with us, listening to us making jokes, like weird 90s corny. Music and movie jokes to each other and like talking about cryptids, and people enjoy that, they say. So yeah, I mean, that's how it started.
I do. There's a very fly in the wall. It feels like, it definitely, that's a great description. I think it feels like three buds, like, eating some, pretzels and whatnot, and just sitting around, BS. And yet there's like, great research and like it's fun and you learn. I mean, what a great combination.
and like for us, like the weirder the better. Like if we find a weird UFO case from somewhere, like we are on it. So like we like the weirder for better for us. So like yeah, that's how it all started. It started off like us trying just to be a part of the community, and I don't know, pushing our way in there the best we could, and that was doing a podcast.
Right.
What can three like nerdy dudes do to get a part of a community? And that was a podcast. Right. So that's what we did. Yeah.
Right. Well, the reason I honestly started this show is because it was there was an actor strike, so I had nothing to I had a year off work, which was a nightmare, and so I'm like, I'm going to go crazy if I don't do anything, and I started this, and it was like I'd always wanted an excuse to talk to people like yourself and researchers and authors, and when you don't have like a reason, it can kind of feel creepy. You like write someone a message on social media, like, hey, I really like your book. Can I like talk to you? And they're like, I don't know, man. And fair enough. But you have a podcast, and sometimes it, kicks down the door a little bit, So yeah, it's very rewarding for me. Like, cause I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you maybe had more people to talk about the stuff. I did not until like a couple of years ago.
How long has your podcast? How long have you been podcasting for?
My God, like a year and a half? Not that long. It's still newish. I would say
pretty impressive. That's you're doing pretty good. I think that's good, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I really love it. It's like my favorite thing I do. Honestly, like it's just pure joy to me. I love it.
Yeah, there was a while. There was a while there where we were looking like, how can we get paid to do this? And like, it's hard. I mean, it's like we already have a niche thing, cryptids and like weird stuff, and then we make it like funny, like comedy.
Yeah,
it's like you have other podcasts that do it, but make it that has like what is it, Last Podcast on Left or whatever that is, and they do it. They take it and they make money, and I just don't think there's room. I just don't think there's especially when it's so niche. I guess when it's so. I don't know. We tried, but it's just a hobby for us, and that's become okay with us. We're happy with that.
Yeah, it's like I like my like reps and stuff like that. You need to do like a straight comedy podcast. I'm like, right. Well, there's also like a million of those.
Exactly.
Like it's. I think no matter what the topic is, like it is hard to make $1 on a podcast these days. There's just too many.
Yeah, and it's like also like a lot of the podcasts that make it big, they do it. I think a lot of them are bigger because a lot of them do like murder stuff and like true crime stuff, and we're just not into that kind of stuff. So like that was never been our thing. Ours is like strictly strange, strictly cryptids and aliens. And ghosts.
That's right. So, I mean, like if I had like Lou Elizondo and disclosure activists on my show, sure, I would get a lot more listeners. But that's not what I like. So
exactly.
I'd be like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing a UFO podcast that I like don't enjoy?
That's exactly
that makes no sense.
And like we've never we've always done things our way. It's never been, we've been a podcast for 6 years. And like I told you before, we've essentially had the same equipment for the last 6 years. We've done things our way the whole time, not really breaking. We've had the same theme, the same podcast, like theme song. We haven't like changed much. I mean, it's just, we'd like to do things our way, and we know what we like and what we don't like. And that's just how we've always run, so.
I think with any artistic endeavor, which I think podcast is an artistic endeavor, people may not agree with me, but I do. At least I approach it that way. I think you got to do what, unless you are doing it for a company and it is just a job.
Right.
I think you have to do what you love and like what you love. And if you bring your passion and your perspective on this stuff, we'll make it unique and different. And, hopefully you get a couple hundred people who really enjoy it.
And we just release whenever we can. We don't have a schedule. We tried to stick to a schedule, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, we have real lives outside of this. So like if we're not able to record, we go, okay, well maybe, next month or next week or, whatever. So like
exactly
that's how we stay sane too, I think. I think a lot of people lose their minds over trying to release, which if they want to do that, that's fine. But that hasn't worked for us in the past. So we just have to, we just do what we have to do, so.
Right. And you also have 3 hosts. So it's like,
exactly.
I'm sure just even getting the schedule down, it becomes very tricky.
Right. It does. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, 6 years, congratulations. That's very impressive. I mean, I hope I can do this for 6 years. I'd be very happy about that.
If you keep going the way you're going, I don't see why not, so.
I'm loving it. And, unless all of a sudden I start hating high strangeness in Fortiana, like, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I'm just going to want to keep on running my mouth about it, my man.
Yep.
Well, look, when you think of West Virginia, I do. And not to mention, not only are you in West Virginia, but you are in like you like we were mentioning, you're so close to the Chestnut Ridge. I mean, I would say like more, because Morgantown's probably like an hour away from that area, if that.
Yeah.
I mean, so you have the Chestnut Ridge, the whole Stan Gordon area, which is famous for the, big,
man, how cool is that guy? How cool is that guy, man?
I think he is one of the unsung heroes of all this stuff. I try to mention his name anytime I can. That book, Silent Invasion, about the 1973-74 UFO Bigfoot flap, where people were seeing Bigfoot and UFOs in conjunction, like, to me, is one of the great weird books ever written.
Yep. He's my favorite investigator, reporter. He was doing that stuff before. I mean, like, he was taking phone calls from people, early on. I mean, like
you're 15.
Yeah, like
I have 15 years old.
There's a closet to my left here. I could open that up, and I have a framed picture of Stan Gordon sitting in there. That he signed a picture for me, and it's like on display there, and I get to see it every time I open my closet. So
I bet I can safely say you're the only person in the entire world who has that.
That's my dude. I love his stuff. It's so cool, and the correlation that he really brought for Bigfoot and aliens. That they're together. I mean, he's the best. Simply the best when it comes to it. I
think so too. And he was like, I mean, kind of like there were definitely people kind of looking at the UFO and Bigfoot phenomenon in a more complex way, like Jacques Vallée and Keel at the time.
Right.
But I don't think Stan Gordon gets enough credit, because he was, I think he started out as a nuts and bolts and flesh and blood person. And then as he starts getting more stories and cases and details, he was not afraid to change his mind.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, there's something way weirder going on here, folks.
Right.
Like,
he'll do like little events like at libraries and stuff around PA. So whenever I get the chance, I always go up and see whatever he has to talk about, because it's always, he's still getting strange cases this day. It's still like, there's still that area is just so wild. So
it really is. Whenever I go back, I'm always like, trying to find areas where, the place where the farm where the guy saw the red, UFO land in the farm field and the two big feet. I mean, that famous, I won't say the guy's name because I don't think it's the name we were supposed to say out loud, but you can find it if you have newspapers.com, folks. But like, that case is amazing. And I was able to find exactly where that was last summer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I stood there for like 45 minutes, just like almost like tears in my eyes going, this is amazing. Yeah, people are driving by me like, what is this weirdo doing in the middle of this like dirt road?
Just looking around. Yeah.
All emotional, like.
I love it. I love it.
But that's like a perfect Saturday for me, though.
Me too, man. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Stan's amazing, but like, so you really are just like from every direction cornered with like not only like weird stories and weird 40 events, but like big ones. We're talking like mainstream stuff. So like obviously when it comes to West Virginia and your kind of surrounding area, we got the Stan Gordon stuff, of course. But then obviously, Mothman, I would say probably is the biggest known or the Flatwoods Monster from Braxton.
Flatwoods Monster's catching up, I think. I mean, it's getting just as big as Mothman.
It is. And that museum in Braxton is fantastic, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love that whole area. Actually, our podcast is sponsored by Braxton County, West Virginia, the tourism. So we get.
Oh man.
So yeah, we're good friends with the curator of the museum. His name is Andrew. He's a good guy. Yeah, I love that museum though. Whenever I get the chance, I'm always down there just hanging out. So
I had just an amazing time there. I bought the little statue. Got tea. I mean, like I am a sucker. Like if there is like 40 tchotchkes at a place.
Same.
I'm gonna empty my wallet every time. I can't help myself.
Yeah, I just
much to the chagrin of my wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I was looking over at my wife, and she's just going, "Oh man, more stuff, huh?" Okay.
Yeah, I come back with a lot of like folk art, which I like. Like almost like I shouldn't say like. I don't want to like. I don't know how to phrase this. Like, it's not always the most refined art. Like sometimes the worse it is, I like it more. Like
same.
And my wife's like, dude, seriously, please stop coming back with stuff. Like we have no wall space for this,
right? Right.
But it's an addiction. It's a problem. I plan on seeking help for it.
Got to work through it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you wouldn't mind, so you were so kind enough to send me this absolutely beautiful package with a Moth Boys t-shirt, which I'm going to wear for my stand-up show tomorrow night.
Cool. Oh, cool. So very cool.
Yeah, it's going to see its first comedy club.
Make sure you get some pictures with that.
I will. I'll have someone take a picture of me doing hacking it away up there.
Is it streaming or anything? Can we watch it anywhere, or is it?
No. I'm trying out like 45 minutes of brand new material that I've never said out loud, and I'm so nervous that I'm going to be really fumbling my way through this. So
you got it.
I will. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about a lot of. Telling some stories of my adventures in the 40 world. So we'll see how it goes, because it's going to be a crowd of normies. So I'm not sure if they'll be like, this guy's insane.
That might make it funny to them, though, or fun. You never know.
I think so, too. I'm going to give it a shot, because that's just what I feel like talking about right now. I don't want to talk about current events, because no one wants to hear it.
No.
But I want to switch gears, if you wouldn't mind. And as I was saying, you sent me this absolutely generous and beautiful package with the wonderful shirt and 5 incredible books. I mean, I can't even tell you how much fun I have with these last night. In fact, my wife is a teacher, and I was showing her the Curious Creatures books, and she's like, I could read these to my kids. I'm like,
nice.
I'm like, you should. And so she's like, probably gonna, I mean, because we'll get to them. I'm jumping the gun here, but first, I'm holding this up to the screen, folks. And if you're watching the YouTube video, you will be able to obviously see it. But first off, like, this grabbed my attention, and it is UFO is a bucket of shit, which is obviously wonderfully named after Gray Barker's poem, lovingly dedicated to UFOs.
Right, yeah.
But this is a Gray Barker magazine, and you, according to the introduction, spent, I think it was 6 Wednesdays and roughly 20 hours going through his archives in Clarksburg. Oh my God! You call yourself not a researcher. First off, you're a researcher, pal. Okay,
all right. I think
so. Tell me about this.
Me into it, I guess. So,
Yeah. You are. Well, I'm labeling you that. I'm sorry. I know we don't like labels, but you just got labeled.
Okay, labeled.
But I love this so much. First off, I'm a massive Gray Barker fan. Cool. I think he actually, like, while he gets this reputation of just being a trickster, and he certainly was, which he was a trickster in a way that I can respect, but also he contributed a lot of amazing stuff to UFO-dom. Like, he really is a massively important figure. So if you would, can you talk about this magazine? And actually, even just, for the listeners who may not know who Gray Barker is, just kind of give them a little thumbnail of who Gray Barker was.
So Gray Barker was a investigator, researcher, prankster, like we said. When it comes to prankster, he would when there was a lull in ufology, when it was quieting down, he would fake cases, so the interest would pick up, more sales of books, because he ran like a press in Clarksburg, West Virginia. He was born in like Braxton County, where the Flatwoods Monster's from. He was born there, and I think his first case was the Flatwoods Monster. He was second on site at the sighting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he was born there, but he had like this whole press set up, the Saucerian. He had a couple different magazines and newsletters and stuff that he did, and that was in Clarksburg. But yeah, I think that he does get a bad rep because of some of the, he was a prankster. He enjoyed money. He tried to survive doing this weird stuff, which was not easy for him. He was also another fact that not a lot of people may not know is he was a gay man in West Virginia, and he was into all this weird stuff. I'm guessing the man's life was not easy. You know what I mean?
No,
I'm guessing it was probably a pretty tough life. So, So he did all these things. He wrote They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers, The Silver Bridge, which I'm going to have a controversial opinion right now. And The Silver Bridge is essentially about the Mothman. And I enjoy reading that book more than I enjoy reading the Mothman prophecies. I like the.
I like it. I like them both, but I like them both for different reasons.
That would be a good answer right there. Yeah, they're both different. Yeah, there's just. I just think it's fascinating. And without Gray and some of the work, because he would have people from all over from West Virginia writing in and having these strange cases, we wouldn't have, a lot of the Mothman stuff he wrote into, Flatwoods Monster, you got Grafton Monster, Veggie Man, you got all these things, Men in Black. I mean, that was kind of his thing. Totally. I mean, that was like, so Philadelphia Experiment, he worked a lot in that and like a lot that case and stuff, those cases. But yeah, he was just, I think he's very underlooked when it comes to all this stuff. I think he brought a lot of stuff, and he's not noticed by it. And so that little zine, that was, I heard about the archives, the Gray Barker archives, and what it is, it's at the Clarksburg Library in Clarksburg, West Virginia. So you go there, and it's just like drawers upon drawers upon drawers, like there's like a whole wall of drawers, and it's full of his stuff. Like
fantastic.
The library bought his work straight up from the family when he passed away. So like you can see like grocery list. It's like all of his stuff, literally just in these, like you can just see everyday stuff from him. But a lot of it's his writing and like just transactions between him and different people about different cases and stuff. So what I did essentially, I went like every Wednesday for, that allotted amount, that time. Because I was feeling some kind of like weird pull there. I was like, I got to go there and just hang out and just look at this stuff. And then I started.
I'm sorry, is it close to where you live? Or like how far would you have to travel?
45 minutes.
Okay, so that's a ways.
It's a ways. I'd go and eat the same lunch. It was like a ritual almost. I went, ate the same lunch, went to the library, did my thing.
What was the lunch? We cannot skip over that.
It was a hot dog. It was 2 hot dogs and some French fries. So
what was going on those hot dogs?
Chili cheese dogs. I like chili. I'm a chili cheese dog kind of guy.
Oh, hello.
Not the healthiest meal, but that was like
delicious.
Yeah. So I would go there and just like hang out and photocopy stuff. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know. I know I'm getting a file. I know I'm getting these. Because I was photocopying all the stuff I liked. Like all the stuff that I was like, okay, this is cool stuff. I need to do this. And then I eventually realized I need to like make this little zine of my favorite things that I compiled over. Because after a while, I wasn't feeling that pull anymore. I'm like, I think I'm done there. I don't. It's cool. I've seen it. I just think I'm done. I don't want to go. Yeah. It was one Wednesday. I was like, I don't want to go there today. I'm done going there. So like, I just stopped. And then I had all this. I had a big bundle of, stuff I photocopied. What can I do with this? That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, I need to put this in a cool little format somehow and get it to people. I want to get it to people who don't know his work or don't have access to get to the archives.
Right.
So what I did was I made that little zine with the help of my friend who has a zine called Strange Days over in Brooklyn. He helped format it and lay out and stuff because I had no idea how to do that.
It looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Y'all did an amazing job.
Yeah, we tried to make it look like a little like, like something that he would have had in his, desk drawer or something,
and it feels like that. It feels like
Right.
there is a real vintage quality about it,
Right.
which I love because it feels like a relic of the past.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
It's
what we're
beautiful.
going for. Yeah. So, so I compiled all my favorite stuff in this little zine, and I opened it up to people. I said, I didn't want to make money off it. I didn't feel like it was my. This is where the losing money part is going to come up about if I. So I didn't feel the need to like make money off this, and like I didn't feel right doing it for some reason. So I had this zine. I told everybody about it, telling the UFO community, and they got excited about it, and all these different people got excited. And I really wanted to get his work out there because I feel like he's the underdog in this community. And so people started sending me address. I said, "Don't worry about it. I paid for postage. I paid for the zine printing. I paid for whatever." So I sent them all over the world, man. People from all over the world wanted them. I sent hundreds and hundreds of these things, and people were big fans of them. So like, yeah, it was, and people still ask for them these days. I still have some, but like, I mean, it's crazy just how much the reception was insane. It was great. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, if you are an old school UFO head, and you know, and you hear that this thing exists, there's not a chance you're not rushing to your laptop to order one. Like, it's like I didn't know how much my library was missing this until you sent it to me. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, it was, and it's not like one of those things where you go like order it. You had to like get a hold of me, personally. I mean, you had to like, had to have my email or my phone number, and like, yeah, and it was that the whole thing was just very DIY, and like I just like that whole aspect too of having control over everything and not having to worry about anything. I can just if I want to send it to you, and like I said, I sent it all over the world. There's people in Australia, Canada. It's all over the place. It's wild how many places I sent it to, and like they just love it. I think it's fantastic, and like I would love to do another one. I'm thinking eventually down the line, I would like to do one about Mary Hyre, who was also.
Oh yeah.
So like getting some of her articles maybe in a zine would be kind of cool.
Would you mind just giving a quick thumbnail of who Mary Hyre is in case people don't know?
She's also another underdog, I feel like, in the whole, especially the Mothman. I mean, she wasn't really. I don't know if she was like UFOs and Mothman, but she wrote for the. I forgot what paper it was, but she was reporting on Mothman sightings when it was happening, like in that year space when Mothman was being seen. And she had a thing called "Where the Waters Mingle" in the newspaper, and like that was where she wrote about all the encounters people were having. And she was like, she was a big part. Her and John Keel would hang out a lot, and she was a big. She was a big like inspiration, but he got a lot of his information from her. So anything a ton. So yeah, I think her name is not out there enough as well. I mean, John Keel is obviously huge, and that he deserves all that. But there are other people, there are other players in the game. I feel like that just don't get named at all, and it makes me a little bummed out. You know what I mean? So
but yeah, especially from that era. Yeah, no, yeah. She is totally, and her name is all over the Mothman Prophecies book.
Oh, yeah.
Like and I don't think Keel hides the fact that she was instrumental in first off, like introducing him to other people in the town. Like I don't think he would have gotten the trust of the locals and the police and all these people had it not been. I mean, she was really, she's 50% of the Mothman Prophecies story.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, she was just very important, and I think that Gray Barker's the same way. I think that he was a prankster and he was a goofball, but like he was very important to a lot of that stuff. I think that he brought a lot to the case, a lot of those cases. So yeah, that was the zine. I mean, it was just this need to do something, and to bring something to light for people who may not know, and that's just what happened. I mean, yeah, I'm very proud of it. I'm very I'm very proud of it. Very happy.
You should be. You really should be. And thank you so much for saying it to me. I am so, I really cherish it. I love having this.
Cool. Good.
Because I own the an old DVD copy. I probably bought it like 15, 20 years ago when it came out. And now I can't remember what the name of it is. It's downstairs. But it's the documentary about Gray Barker.
Oh, is it Shades of Grey?
Shades of Grey. Yeah, Shades of Grey. Which is good. I really enjoyed that.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, but
there's actually two documentaries about Gray Barker.
Well, one's really hard to find.
It's
the
very
first
hard
one,
to find.
Right?
Yeah. What's that called? I always forget the name, but it's more of like it's like a super strange documentary. where the director goes out and finds the family members and friends and just talks to them in like in black and white documentary. And it's very much like a Christopher Guest, Christopher Guest, like a Mighty Wind and like
sure,
it's more like that. Yeah, it's more like that style of a documentary. It's very very strange and like, but it's great though. It's hard to find though. It's very good though.
Yeah, it is. There was a time a long time ago where like there were some clips of it on YouTube. I don't even think those are on there anymore.
Probably got taken down. I don't think the director really is a fan of like all that. Like, I don't think he wants to re-release it. I don't think he wants to clips up. I don't think.
It's tragic.
It's a thing of the past. I think so.
I would love to see
I have a copy around here somewhere. It was hard to find. It was pretty expensive, but I have one somewhere right here.
Whoa, so, there you go. Well, maybe they'll accidentally find its way online someday. Whoopsie.
But super cool stuff, man. I mean, I'm just a huge fan of his. And like while we're on the subject of Gray Barker, I actually so for a long time I was looking for his spot where he was buried in the cemetery because I never had like clear instructions on where he was. So me and Andrew from the Flatwoods Monster Museum, we finally got like these like precise location. It was out in the woods. Like if you go to Sutton in Braxton County, where the Flatwoods Monster Museum is, you go up to a person's house essentially, and it's like there's like farm animals, and like you have to walk through their lawn and walk through the woods, and like you have to walk. It's like a half mile in and a half mile out, but you walk into the middle of the woods, and you have to do this crazy hike to get to the cemetery, and that's where Gray Barker and his parents are buried. And like, and I go, and the first time I went, it was like nobody gets out there to take care of the cemetery. So like there used to be a person that used to go, like a family member I used to get out there, but they just got too old and they can't do it. So like I've been like since I first went there, I remember going back the next weekend and taking care of it and like weed whacking and stuff and like just taking care of it. Yeah. So I've been like the self-appointed caretaker of this little cemetery in the middle of the woods, Gray Barker Cemetery. So
that's
have fun
beautiful.
Doing that. Yeah. So
you're a wonderful human being. I think that is so sweet and wonderful. Right. Like I'll tell you what, like I will we can talk off the air about this, but when I'm there in the area,
I'll show
you. Definitely this summer.
Let's
Buddy,
go.
Lunch on me if you show me that. I mean, I would love that, and don't mind if I shed a couple tears because I get really emotional when I'm at these places.
I love doing it, and it's like me and Andrew would go up there, and we put signs up. Actually, we put a sign we bought signs that say Barker Cemetery. We put it on the gate, and then we put up a little sign above Gray's headstone that that recognizes him and has his picture on it, and it says all the important stuff he did in this field. So it's like a whole thing. So if people want to go take a picture with it or like whatever, so we put up this whole sign and like, so yeah, that's another cool thing that we do too. We just put the sign up and it's has his signature on it and like it's pretty neat. I'll send you a picture of it. But
it sounds to me, if I'm catching your drift a little bit here, it sounds like the preservation of Fortean history in the areas you live is incredibly important to you. My God, I would clap and it would ruin the sound because I feel the same way about Nebraska because no one's doing it really here.
No one's doing it.
And so like I've taken it upon myself to kind of like document, keep these things, share them. I have a Google Doc that anyone can have with reams of weird Nebraska stuff.
Dude, it's if nobody's telling the stories, they're gonna die. You know what I mean?
They're gonna die. That's exactly right. And all the kind of like the older generations, there's like one guy left with all these stories, and he's not doing well. So like I mean, it's it really is important. Like I guess if you're really into this stuff, especially if you're into your own local weird history, help out. Like
take care of
it.
Yep.
Because even if this is all just folklore, is very important, whether people want to believe that or not. Like it actually has a lot to do with culture and sociology and society, and like it's vastly important in my opinion. So I love what you're doing,
and that might be my favorite aspect too. I mean, I love the storytelling and human aspect of it. I think I love the creatures, like cool. A Mothman, that's badass, right? I mean, that's cool,
right?
But like the human aspect of it is, it's something that we all connect to. I think so. Like, so take care of the past and take care of the people that helped bring this stuff to light. You know what I mean? So like, that's what I do in my little way. I go up and I take care of the cemetery. I weed whack. His parents were up there. There's a bunch of like, it's real sad, but like, there's a bunch of like little kid graves up there. So like, I'm like, oh, I can't leave this place and like I feel bad. They need their home cleaned. You know what I mean? So I go back and like, but yeah, I mean, it's, that's
You're
something
good,
I'm very
dude.
proud
That's
of doing
wonderful.
too. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's really inspiring. You're an inspiring dude. Truly.
Thank you.
Just with keeping time in I'm going to move on to. First off, I did not know about this case, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And that is the White Monsters of Sherman, New York.
Yeah.
I'm holding the book up again. So, go to the YouTube if you're listening to audio so you can see these beautiful covers.
Yeah.
First off, I'm a massive fan of Jonathan Dowd's art. Like, I think he is off the charts talented. He seems like such a great guy. Every interaction I've had with him has been lovely.
So nice.
Wonderful human being. It's just out of control talented, in my opinion. But, this is an amazing case. I had never heard about this. So will you please tell the listeners kind of about the story and how the other Moth Boys of the Fantastic Moth Boys podcast dug deep on this research? And, I'm shocked this case isn't like a bigger one because it's so weird and
so
beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, it's like it's like I'm going to go on about it because those are two things I can go on about. It's like this case and John Keel. Or not John Keel, Gray Barker. But so the White Monsters was so I'll just start from a teenager wrote into John Keel anonymously about
do you know what year ish?
Late 60s maybe.
Okay, yeah.
It's that whole era where all the weird stuff all the cool stuff happened, right? I mean, it's
yeah. Oh, sorry, I lost you for a second. There you go.
We're back. Okay.
Yep, you're back.
I think it was like late 60s. I'd have to look at it. I'm no good with dates also, by the way. For being a person that's really into this stuff, I don't know dates.
I'm not either.
Yeah. But so what had happened was this young man wrote into John Keel telling him that he was seeing these giant albino ground sloths in his yard and around the town he lives in the woods. And John Keel, I guess, got back to him and said, I don't have time to investigate all of these cases. Thank you for writing to me. And then that was that. That's all he heard from him. But John Keel later included that letter in Creatures from Time and Space, I think it's called, like where it's a bunch of like weird stories.
Right.
And I got to hold that book, and I don't know how old I was. I was in my 20s probably. I read that one later, and I noticed Sherman, New York. That's like I grew up 10 minutes from there. That was like I said earlier, we don't get cases. We don't get cool cryptids. We don't get cool creatures.
How exciting that must have been. Wait, what are the odds?
And I was like, this is awesome. And then, I was like, oh shoot, anonymous. So I was going to like hit up whoever, just go search things out and be like, who is this person that saw this?
Yeah.
So when Moth Boy started, we were like, we should do something with this. I mean, it's cool. It's like, this is our local thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And, I'm like, but how? I mean, it was an anonymous letter sent back in the 60s to John Keel. How is this going to work? Right. So we just kept thinking, like, how can we do something with this? This is important to us, and it's our neighborhood, it's our our home. So we got to looking online, and we went to like some message boards, and we had this guy that was writing it and saying, I think this was me seeing these. It was me seeing these creatures.
What?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm a retired teacher that lives in Chillicothe, Ohio now. So somehow we got on that message board, and it was old. I don't remember what it was, but we made a sign. We signed up for, to write him a message back, and we did. And then I forgot. And then one of us figured out his last name somehow. I don't remember how. There was a lot of weird creepiness to this. I mean, it was a lot of like,
it happens when you're researching. Yeah.
Family members doing that whole thing. But we got his last name. His last name's Goodwill. His name's John Goodwill. That was his name. And we got a hold of his son. Is how we first got it. And we're like, is this just? We're sorry. This is strange. Was this your father writing on this message board? Did he see creatures back in the day? And I'm like, if he is comfortable with it, if you could give him our email, we don't even need to do phone numbers. He doesn't. I just send him my email, and if he wants to send something back to us, he can do it. So he sends us an email, and he's like, this was me. I did see these creatures. And he was a little hesitant at first. I think he hadn't really told anybody. He told John keel, and then once he dropped it, I think he didn't really bring it up. I think
Right.
that was it for him. He didn't want to be ridiculed. It was just too much for him. But and he was still a little hesitant. But like after talking, we told him that this is important to us and we would like to do something with it. We weren't sure what. So he was on board. He was like, I guess what do I got to lose? I'm getting older. What does it matter? So we worked on. So what we did was we had him meet us. He lived in Chillicothe. We had him meet us at the community center in Sherman, New York, where the mayor let us record our a live podcast from there with him.
Amazing.
Like interviewing him about having these sites with these giant ground sloths. And it was really funny. That was that's my favorite. That's my favorite episode is the interview, because it was him and then us three across the table, and then behind us, his whole family was sitting behind us, listening in and watching us, because they were amazed by it. They're like, he's getting interviewed by these guys on a podcast.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the podcast, you can hear everybody clapping and everybody was happy, and like it was super
amazing.
Cool. But yeah, and then after the interview where we talked about the white monsters, he took us out to the spots where he saw them, which was amazing. Getting to see firsthand. He's like, I can see it right there. I remember that like it was clear as day. I can see that creature coming across that field.
Amazing.
And they never attacked or anything. They always slow moving, and he would just see them, in fields and in the woods, and like his sister saw them once. But yeah, it was just this whole adventure finding this guy, and then him telling us that his story. We're going back to the whole thing. His story probably would have died with him if it wasn't for us reaching out to him. So I'm like, we have to do something. So we did the podcast, and then we released a mini book, we call it. It's also another like case file. It has the feel of a case file type thing,
right?
Where like, the book has pictures by Jonathan Dodd, an interview with the eyewitness, John Goodwill, and then all the encounters. He had like 8 or 9 encounters with these things, and yeah, man, I'm super proud of that one too, because that's like our local thing. We're trying to get. We've gotten a lot of them. A lot of people know about it now, but we want to get it bigger. I mean, that's like a cool case that.
I mean, there's almost nothing like it. Like, how big were these creatures? Did he kind of give you a
what
estimate?
Was it? Oh, he did. They were pretty big, but he also he was thinking as a kid, things seem bigger as kids, so they could have been
sure.
So he doesn't. I forgot what it is now, but they were tall. I mean, but they were on 4s a lot. It was either they were on 2s or they were on all 4s walking. And I think a lot of the times he saw them on 2s, but they were giant albino ground sloths. You know what I mean?
Good God.
That's something I'll never forget doing, is just, help. And what is really special for me is helping get this guy's story out. I mean, that's my favorite part. I mean, the creature's cool, the story's cool, but just helping this guy tell his story in the best, and on the little podium we have to be able to spread it out to people the best we can. We got his story out, and that means the world to me that he trusted us with that. So yeah.
And you really got the impression that this guy believes what he was saying.
100%. And his brother, like his family joined us on this little where he showed us these spots, and his brother was there too, and his brother had seen them too, and he was
amazing.
Like, "Yep, I see it too." I mean, it's the same thing. There was one point where his dad was like, not believing it. He's like, "You guys need to shut your mouths. This is nonsense." But at one point, in one of the encounters, they pull a car over, and they're sitting there in the car, and they're in a field. They're watching I think it's 2 adults and 2 little ones, like kids, like youth sloths, like small ones playing, and they're just watching them in a field. So the parents eventually believed it, because they started seeing themselves. But I mean, he's so genuine. He's so genuine, and it's hard not to believe him. I mean, it's and he was seeing things in his brain that he was seeing it like he was watching it live, just watching him describe it. I've never seen anything like it. So
what an experience! Amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you one thing.
Please.
Yeah, it's not white monsters, but there's a swamp. That's where he saw a lot of them, in the swamp area. And I kid you not, me and a group of friends will go out there on some weekends, and we haven't seen a sloth. That'd be cool. But you go out there at nighttime with a clear sky, you are going to see something strange. You will see a UFO. Really? You will see some dancing lights. We call them dancers. We don't know what they're doing. They just move around. But almost every time I've been out there where it's a clear night, I see something strange. And I've never seen anything in my life. So there's something going on in that little area. Yeah, Sherman, New York, or something going on. But yeah, it's amazing. That's the first time. When was it? A year or two ago? It was the first time I really saw anything strange, and that was dancing lights in the sky. And I had no explanation.
Phenomenal. Weird.
Jonathan Dodd was with us one night, and we saw this weird, like, triangle thing go right over our heads. We had no idea what it was. It was so quiet, so slow. Wasn't a drone. They would make some kind of noise, I think. But yeah, I've never seen anything like it. There's always something weird going on out there. So.
That is incredible. So when they were the Sherman family was having, or not the Sherman family, the Goodwill family was having these experiences. Were there any other kind of like high strange symptoms that were going, like any kind of like other like poltergeisty psychic stuff or lights or no just
man.
kind of these slots?
Yeah, because we asked him, have you seen anything before, after, or during these sightings? And he said no. He says he might have seen a weird spacecraft at one point, but he thinks it was just something man-made in the sky. Right. But he said no, nothing is ever. That's it. So that, which leads me to believe that it's even more. It's real. I mean, it's just like this guy. Yeah. It's a very straightforward guy. Just like, there's nothing else going on. So, but yeah, me and the boys worked on that book, and illustrations by Jonathan Dodd, and it's just, that was another thing that we're really proud of working on. So,
oh, you should be. The book is phenomenal. The book is also just so beautiful, the whole package. Like, and this is something people can order, I'm hoping.
Yeah, and on Amazon. Yeah, it's on Amazon.
On Amazon, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. I will have all the links to that, of course. Cool. Well, I love this story, and you have a real knack for kind of finding these, first off, wonderful stories that, or and wonderful figures like Gray Barker that need more light shined upon them, I think. And you're doing such a great service. Like,
thank you.
I'm gonna nominate you for 40th of the year here. You need a medal, friend.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I would love to move on, if you wouldn't mind, to I'm holding this book up.
Right.
Again, watch this on YouTube, folks, because you can see pictures.
Come on, folks.
This is part of the Curious Creatures series, talking about one of my faves, The Vegetable Man.
Absolutely.
And I noticed that this is through Small Town Monsters Publishing. So very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
I like their work.
That was the first book they published, actually. So.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Well, would you mind, we're sticking to a little trend here, would you mind kind of giving the listeners a little thumbnail of about how you came to do this book and what the Vegetable Man tale encompasses?
Well, I'll give you because I have another one called Curious Creatures, The Grafted Monster as well.
We're going to get to that next.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I'll just point out that the Curious Creatures series, it's 2 books. And they're illustrated by Ballyraven Folklore, who's a great illustrator.
So good.
Just great stuff.
So good.
But what the whole thing behind these books was a children's book, and so the books are told from the point of view of the creatures instead of the human beings having them. So the Vegetable Man was a sighting here in Fairmont, West Virginia. It's about half hour from where I live. That happened. I forget. Like I said, forget years. I'm sorry. I'm not good with that.
No, it's all right. I think it was kind of the late 60s, 70s, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. It was in July, I think. Yeah. So, so a man was out woodchuck hunting, out in his woods, and he hears this weird, high pitched jabbering noise. His name was do you remember his name? Jennings Frederick.
No, I don't.
There we go. Jennings.
Oh,
Frederick.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I also found his grave too. That's out in Grafton, actually. Funny enough. Yeah. So, but Jennings Frederick was out woodchuck hunting. And he hears this weird high-pitched jabbering noise coming from the bush, and this creature jumps out of him, jumps out at him, and is like, this giant, I don't know how tall, green, and it has spindly needle-like fingers with suction cups on them, and it's got a tuft of hair on top of its head, very strange-looking nose, but it looks like a vegetable essentially. It's green and tall, but this weird creature like telepathically tells this man, I need help. I know human beings. I know of you guys. I don't know the exact quote, but he telepathically tells him, I need your help, essentially. And that the man he tries to book it, and Jennings tries to book it, and he says, hell no to this. He's like out of there. But this creature lunges at him and takes its suction cup needle fingers and inserts them into his arm and starts siphoning blood from this man's arm. And obviously the guy's shocked and he's in horror. He looks up at the creature in its face, and the eyes of the creature start twirling and like spinning different colors. And he said that the creature was putting him in a trance. Essentially, was what was happening. He couldn't feel the pain of the needle, the blood being siphoned. So eventually, I think the creature got its fill, whatever it needed. Whatever.
Got its lunch. Yeah,
exactly. So it let go of the man's arm, and his eyes stopped. Putting him in a trance, and he started feeling the pain in his arm. He said, but the creature just jumps off. It jumps off into the woods. It left the man. Jennings is left, stunned, obviously. And a little fact about this is that he hears a whirring noise coming from the woods, which he thought was its spacecraft or something taken off.
Right.
So essentially what I did, as any sane person would do, I took that story and I made a children's book out of it. So it's not an easy sell. I've had a few complaints about it, that it's scary, because in each
oh my god, I think
it's kind of spooky, but I like in each book there's like the actual encounter happens in the book. That's like the vegetable man one is that he gets sick while he's on patrol looking at West Virginia, and he has to land. He forgot to eat, so he goes and sucks this man's blood out of his arm, and but yeah, that was Jennings Frederick's encounter, and funny enough, not a lot of people know this, but him and Gray Barker talked a lot, and he had a lot more encounters with weird UFOs and creatures and aliens. His mother had one too.
Wow.
With a vegetable man type creature not too long before the vegetable man encounter happened. But yeah, it's getting off track. But yeah, the book is, it's not just a children's book about the encounter that happened, but told from the aliens' point of view. So
like, I love with this and the Grafton, the other curious creatures with the Grafton. We'll get to that obviously after this. Yeah. But I love the point of view. There is like this like super sweetness. It has like I don't know what to compare it to. It's almost like an ugly duckling type thing where it gets left behind, like kind of like E.T. And it's kind of sad, because like the creature is like basically telling this man in the book, it's like, help, I'm sick, I need your help. Like, I'm so sorry, I need to siphon a little of your blood so I don't die. I hope that didn't hurt you. But it's like, it really is this. I find it very unique that you flip the point of views where the I can't really think of another case or instance where this is done, but it's always the point of view of the human being, right?
Right.
And this is the point of view of the creatures. And
like the last few pages is like the alien going, I hope that guy, I hope he knows that I didn't mean to hurt him. I was trying to get help. You know what I mean? So,
and that's something like there's something very sweet. Like I would think I told you I would show these to my wife, who's elementary teacher, and she's like, I could read these to my kids. And I think they'd really like it, because I was the kind of kid who actually I would get really scared about stuff, but I liked it. So this would have been a dream book. So if you got kids out there and you're into this stuff, this is kind of a must-have, I think. I love it. It's also, the art's beautiful. The package is great.
It's the best. Yeah, and then the Grafton Monster one is just the same way. It's just the encounter of the Grafton Monster, but told from the point of view of the monster. Do you want me to go into that one a little bit?
Do you mind? Yeah,
I don't mind at all. Do we have time?
Okay,
Are you good with time?
Oh my God, no! Please. Okay. Yeah.
I'm good too. So what the Grafton Monster was, a man named Robert Cockrell was driving home late one night from his newspaper job in Grafton, West Virginia, and he's driving on Riverside Drive, and there's a river next to the road. So he's driving slowly down, and he looks to his right, and he sees this giant white mass, essentially, with arms and legs and no head, and he saw it as he slowed down, saw it as a living, breathing creature, and like just took off. Just like, he's like, no way, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
I don't want no part of that. So
fair.
Eventually, he got home and he was like, "Oh man," he was like, "I should go back. I'm a reporter. I need to go see what's going on here." So he grabbed a couple of friends and they went back to the spot. And they said there was nothing there, but the grass was matted where the thing was sitting. So there was something making an impression in the ground. And off in the distance from the riverside, they heard some weird whistling noises coming from the water. Oh, and he also described the skin of it's all white and it's seal-like skin, slippery looking, almost like a weird, very strange coat of something on it. But yeah. So they think that they hear this weird creature out there whistling, and this is one of my favorite encounters and stories because it incites a monster hunt for like the next week. It's like next week in Grafton, West Virginia, there's this monster hunt. You know, the cars are flooding this street looking for this creature. I got bats and chains and all kinds of stuff. So it's like a real it's a real fear for people. And like they're hunting this creature. Yeah. And like the paper,
vigilante justice here.
Exactly. They want to get this poor innocent creature for some reason.
Yeah.
It's always wanting to kill things. You know, I don't know.
I know.
But he told the paper about it that he works at, and they didn't take it. They wrote an article about it, and then they wrote another article about it, like kind of shooing it away. It's kind of saying it's all just, people daydreaming or whatever, something. But so the story that I wrote was, from the point of view of the creature, and he had been also, this is another Gray Barker case. He was in direct contact with Robert Cockrell, and Gray Barker kind of summed it up by saying that this creature could have been a creature that was sent to Earth to like check the air, like we send monkeys into space or whatever. It's like it's like that. Sent this creature, some alien sent this weird creature to Earth to check the surroundings of Earth. But yeah, so the story I wrote was that this alien got didn't get dropped off. It got so it was with its family essentially, and it got lost from its family, and they took off. They had to leave. So like it's like another thing where like so essentially what it's doing is just hanging out in Grafton, West Virginia, climbing trees, running up hills, having a fun time, eating berries and mushrooms, and just waiting for its family. And the whistling noise that they heard was it trying to call out to its family, and that was and eventually the book ends happy. But the whole thing is him being lost in Grafton, West Virginia, trying to keep his mind off of not being home with his family. And like the whole thing behind that book was like even the scary monsters can get scared. I mean, that's like the whole thing. It's like yeah.
Right. Well, I read this last night, and I was like, maybe it's because I was I read it, and like it made me it made me feel that like, wow, no one ever thinks about what these poor high manifestations of high strangeness are going through personally.
Yeah, exactly.
It really actually I know the aim is like a kid's book, but like I was getting different things. Like I knew about both these cases, the Vegetable Man and the Grafton Monster, right? But I had never like thought about it in terms of the point of view. In fact, I don't think I've ever thought about the point of view of any high strange manifestation. Right. And like now I do. And so like these books kind of changed me and like opened my brain up to like it opened my mind up. It's like, oh, we're so scared of these things we see, but like what about them?
Exactly. Like whenever I think about the Mothman case, I think about the Scarberry and Merlette case. And the whole thing was like it kind of stumbled out, didn't know how to walk correctly, and like that's something. And I was just thinking, like, that's sad. I mean, that's like that kind of like that's like they're probably here and they don't know why they're here, or maybe they do. I don't know, but I just like to think of it from that point of view. And it's like, man, I mean, we're going through a lot, but think about what they're going. I mean, these creatures that like are on a like whole new planet, like, and you're screaming in their face, and like. I don't know. There's this whole other aspect of it that you can look through, and that I wanted to make that part of that series. And I wanted to do cryptids that weren't as I could have done a Mothman cryptid curious creatures or a Flatwoods Monster, but I wanted to do two cases that were like West Virginia and smaller cases.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just that's true. You don't really think about the other side, that the scary monsters, what they're going through. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good Lord. I mean, like, I'm probably not alone in thinking the scariest creature on this planet is, without a doubt, in my opinion, human beings. I mean, like, the only reason I don't go out at night into like the rural cornfields of Nebraska to go like, to hot spots. One, I don't have anyone to do it with. But it's because I'm scared of like other people who would be out there, 1 in the morning.
The shotgun-toting farmer. Yeah.
Well, and that is, I mean, like, all bits aside, that's a reality in rural Nebraska where, like, if you're, like, close to someone's property on a dirt road, like, they're going to think you're up to no good. And I do, I don't want to. My wife already puts up with enough of my shenanigans. So,
Yeah, I mean, I just like thinking about these creatures as I think I get a sense of loneliness from a lot of encounters, and that's from the
Right.
creature's end. I get a
Right.
lot of like, man, it's actually kind of sad when you think about it a little bit. So
Yeah, well, I mean, like these books, like I'll be honest, and I don't know if it's the state of the world that's making me feel this way, but they made me emotional, like,
Yeah.
and not in a negative way. I'm saying like, oh, it just made me like have
Yeah.
more humanity, which I know these aren't humans, but like it made me have a little more like sympathy with what
Right.
potentially these entities are going through.
what you don't know about, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean it's it can relate to us humans too. I mean, we just gotta be more open to things and like less like I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying though.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like I think there's like a, and I don't know if it was the intention, but I think there's like a great message
Mhm.
in these
Mhm.
books about like, hey man, like because something's different and wild and crazy doesn't mean you have to like shoot
Right.
it, and kill
Well,
it.
it
Like,
was definitely an intention in Crafted Monster.
Mhm.
Veggie Man didn't really have that in my mind yet,
Right.
but now that I look back, I was probably thinking about it. I just didn't. It wasn't fully there yet. But for Grafted
I think
Monster,
it's still.
there.
I think it's still there in the Vegetable Man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like, I think the Grafted Monster definitely. It seems like
Yeah.
a bigger point was made to do it.
Mhm.
They're both phenomenally wonderful
Thank you.
books. Like
Thank
I just like I said, the package, the art, the writing. It's really just top notch. I love it so much.
Thank you.
Man, like I hope you keep on doing these.
Thank you.
Like really, like I think it's such a unique offering into these worlds, and like myself, like I love 40 Fortiana so much that like I really appreciate the work you're putting out there, man.
Thank
like,
you. I appreciate that.
Bravo to you. Yeah. Like I'm
Well, thank
super
you.
excited.
You're doing it too, man. I mean, it takes
Well,
it's all of us in this thing, So
yeah. Well, we know, and that's the thing. It's like we all have like we're all like kind of like swimming in the same sea of stories, archetypes, ideas, right? But like I think everyone's perspective can be unique and different if you're passionate about this stuff.
Right.
Like I really think it's passion number one, and then your point of view number two. But like, man. Yours is leaking out of these books and out of your show, so
Thank
bravo to you. We're two peas in a pod, bud.
Thanks.
I want to ask you this. Kind of as we wrap up. And first off, thank you so much for your time and your generosity with your time.
Absolutely.
But do you like what's going on these days in West Virginia? Like, is it's always weird when you think about like I always think about the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, like, oh, that's when all the good stuff was happening, all the really weird, diverse, like like nothing ever seemed the same. It was like it was almost like people were rarely seeing the same kind of creature twice.
Right.
And there was this wonderful diversity of creatures hopping off UFOs or wandering through people's yards or in the swamp. But do you feel like, are you getting like, these days and, the last like, 20, 30 years of the 21st century, is there still like, these high strange cases going on?
I mean, see, that's where it comes down to like, I'm not an investigator in that way. Like people don't really hit me up with cases. I know that there is a ton of Bigfoot sightings here in West Virginia. I know that. But these like real strange the fringe cases, like these real like I don't hear of any of them at all. You know what I mean? You do hear some Mothman cases, I think, not in West Virginia so much anymore. Like Chicago, I think there's some.
The Chicago flap.
Yeah, but I don't really hear too much. I mean, I'm sure people are still having weird sightings. You know what I mean? Maybe they're just not telling other people about them. But yeah, like I said, I don't hear about things because I'm not actively out searching for them. But my guess is things are happening. I just don't see it or hear about it. So.
I sometimes wonder if there's too many places to report these things, like where it just gets lost or someone just puts it on a Reddit thread or.
Yep. And it's just,
and I think a lot of the bigger organizations like MUFON and BFRO well, I'm not like, denigrating them or saying bad things, but like they have a very strict point of view on this stuff where it is nuts and bolts and flesh and blood. And if there's any weird stuff involved, they don't want it.
No thanks. Yeah. Yep.
So where are people supposed to go with these stories? I don't know anymore,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that people are probably still having, I mean, I don't think it's ever stopped happening. I just don't know where they're reporting to or so, Yeah, and
Right.
I think like you said back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, it was. I don't know what it was about those times, but like I guess
Right.
it was just written about more, and it was more not in a spotlight, I guess, but like it was just more. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just out
Yeah.
there more, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, even if you just took UFOs, like strictly just the UFO
Right.
phenomenon, like the UFO phenomenon, objectively, when you go through the files of Kufos or, the Humcat or read old Teal books, like they were just a lot weirder, man.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean,
it's a lot more interesting.
those things go away, or what? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. It's just so strange.
Like, yeah, sometimes I like to think of it as like in the 60s and 70s, the UFO phenomenon, whatever it is or represents, was auditioning creatures.
Yeah.
And then somehow the gray alien got the part, got the role of the
yep.
representation, and I'm like,
that's it.
boring. Yeah, and then they like stopped doing auditions, and like I would like to open up the auditioning table. Like, let's cast some new creatures in here. 'Cause I could be more bored by the gray alien. Although I'm not even sure if people are really even still seeing that. Almost feels like a relic of the 90s.
It does. It does too. It's very strange. Yeah, I don't know what's out there. I know there's stuff out there, but people just aren't talking about it like they used to, I guess.
Yeah. It's a weird time for UFOs and 40 and stuff. It's a great time, but it's also like there's a lot more muck you have to sift through to find the good stuff, I think.
Absolutely.
That's just kind of my opinion. Is there anything in West Virginia that you kind of look forward to tackling, like any stories or cases that just you can't get out of your brain?
No, well, it's what's in my brain right now. If we want to talk about that,
please, I do.
I have two events coming up that are cryptid and UFO and all that stuff. I help throw an event called. Well, I'm doing this is the first time, and it'll be a one and done type event. This year we're doing Gray Day, which takes place.
Oh yeah,
it takes place the day before Gray Barker's 100th birthday. And that will be at the.
When is that?
May 3rd. May 3rd. And what that's going to be, it's going to be a showing of the documentary Shades of Grey, and then we have a man named Colin Gabriel who will be doing a guest speak. He has a new book coming out about Gray Barker.
Amazing.
And then that's at the Flatwoods Monster Museum, and we'll also have Clarksburg Library set up a table there, and they'll have some authentic Gray Barker, writings and like props and stuff. And then we'll all be, it's an RSVP type situation, and then we're all going up for a hike up to his cemetery after the event. So it's gonna be a fun time.
Wonderful. Oh my God, May 3rd.
Yeah,
man, I don't know if I'm gonna try to make it.
It's May 3rd. Yeah, it's May 3rd at the Flatwoods Monster Museum. It's called Gray Day. And then me and a buddy who goes by Conjure Dust Designs. He's also an illustrator. He illustrated Mothman Learns the ABCs, which is another one of my book.
Oh yes. We did not get. I'm sorry, we did not get.
That's
to
okay.
That.
That's a book about Mothman learning the ABCs across West Virginia. Yep, there it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah, me and Conjure Just Designs named Danner, we're throwing an event called Veggie Man Day. It's our second year. And that's a Veggie Man themed day, where it's like vendors and like guest speakers and musicians, Appalachian music all day. So like, yeah, it's just a little event. That's July 12th at the Folklife Center in Fairmont, West Virginia. So
whoa. Now that's exactly when I usually make my summer trip to see my wife's family.
Let's make it happen. Coming down,
dude.
Man. Yep.
I'm pushing for that date, July 12th.
So July 12th. Yeah, that's we thought we'd take a cool story and make a day out of it.
Dude,
so that's what we did. Last year was really good. We had a whole bunch of people show up, and it was we have a lot of cool cryptid themed vendors, and yeah, everybody has a good time. So that's all. Yeah, that's Veggie Man Day, Folklife Center, July 12th. So that's what's going on in my brain. Right, that's what I'm trying to work out, getting all this stuff figured out. So yeah,
you are killing it. Listeners, what if we all just move to this area, because it seems like this is kind of the place to be.
Go. Let's go. Yes. Yes. I mean, the more
we'll form a big weirdo commune, and
yep, I would love that. So
spend our days investigating. Yeah,
we're working on I'm working on Mothman Learns the Colors. That'll be out hopefully sometime this year. So that'll be a fun one. But other than that, that's what I'm really working hard at right now. So, but yeah, we would love to. If you want to come down, I'll put you as a guest speaker on Veggie Man Day. You can come down.
Oh, heck yeah.
Come talk to the people, So
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. I'll do like a 10-minute 40 and stand-up set.
That would
which would probably is probably the audience that I'm looking for, honestly, because they would get it.
Exactly, they would get the jokes. Yeah,
that's exactly. Yeah. Tomorrow night it's probably gonna just fall dead on its feet.
Don't
what?
be positive. You know what I mean? Positive.
You're
thoughts.
right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. I'm my own worst enemy, man. I get my own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Michael, this has been so much fun. First time, I'm so glad to meet you. We've been messaging for a while, and you exceeded all expectations. You're a wonderful human being. I love your passion for this stuff. I love your tone.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Stuff where
means a lot.
But it just is for me. It's like you're the kind of, I think when people read your work and they hear your show, they remember why they like this stuff again.
Yeah.
Because like I have, a lot of friends in this stuff now, which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
But we all kind of, every once in a while, people are like, oh man, don't worry, man. You'll get tired of this stuff eventually. I'm like, I don't think I will. But like, I understand, because if you look, if you're, looking at like kind of like what's in the UFO pop culture, Bigfoot pop culture, it can be a little dry and boring. And it's kind of the same old thing. It's like people demanding the truth from Congress. I'm like, good luck with that, folks. Like it ain't gonna happen. Yeah. they're not the arbiters of high strange.
That's what we like to call. I call them when it comes to events like that. I call them tea towel events, because it's always the same tea towel with the same Bigfoot print on there, and I'm always like, that's a tea towel Bigfoot event right there. But
it is. And no offense, like there's no right or wrong way to be into this stuff.
I'm just being silly.
But I'm just saying, when your work just speaks to me. It's what I love about this stuff. It really is. So bravo to you.
And I think that like if this stuff ever does start getting boring, or if you start maybe resenting it, or if you just find new ways to make it fresh. I mean, that's what I've tried to do with my podcast and the books I write. I've tried to like breathe new life into some of these stories and like make it new again. You know what I mean? So if you can do that and you're able to like, do that, you'll never get sick of it. There's no need to get sick of it, So
that's exactly how I feel. I don't like, to me, it's like, I don't see like, and that's the thing. I think when you're into this stuff, this is not, I think it was Dr. Jeffrey Kripal's quote where he says, when you get into UFOs, the first 2 years you obsessively read about UFOs. Mm-hmm. On year 3, you're reading books about Arabian mystics from 2,000 years ago. So like being into this stuff really is a way to broaden your horizons, not just with Fortean topics, because you realize at a certain point, it's like, oh, I need to know about folklore. I need to know about mythology. Mm-hmm. I need to know what, culture was like 1,000 or 500 years ago in the state of Nebraska. It really is a way to educate yourself in fields and, events that you never would have known. Like history becomes a very important part of your life, because I'm sure you found like, as you're researching stuff in West Virginia, oh my God, I'm learning about all this history, because you need to know what was going on in this tiny little town in 1968, because it really can shed new light on how you view it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always stuff to look into too. There's always something strange. Yeah. I don't know. It hasn't gotten stale for me yet. And I don't think it will, man. But like I said, if it does, I'll just do something. We'll just find a way to make it not stale, so.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, I kind of, and not to sound like highfalutin, but like your approach and kind of the way I view it is, this sounds like I'm really like buttering our own biscuits, but it's kind of the artist approach, where if you're a painter and you do one thing very well, like eventually you're going to get tired of it because it becomes easy, and you will want to like shake up the system, add novelty to your work, and change it up. And I feel like taking an artist approach to Forteana, and you are an artist, you're writing. I mean, that writing is an art form. So I think like switching it up and trying something fresh and challenging yourself is a wonderful thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's the only way some people keep sane, I think, too. So whatever you got to do to be happy, So
I agree, especially in this era.
That is
Buddy, please tell me more please tell the listeners where they can find more of the wonderful Michael David Strayer.
You can just, Moth Boys Podcast is on Instagram. I mean, there's not many Moth Boys podcasts out there, so just type it into Google or whatever. Like I said, we try to release episodes whenever we can. We just released one on the Pang Bosch, I think that's how you say it, hand. It's a Yeti hand that was, this crazy story. But yeah, check that out. You can find my books on Amazon. I'm still working on getting Grafted Monster book on Amazon and stuff like that. But if you want a copy of Grafted Monster book, you can just personally, hit up Mothboys on Instagram or Facebook or mothboyspodcast@gmail.com. We don't really have a web store or anything. I might set one up for like merch and stuff. But yeah, just type in Mothboys and you'll find us. So
hell yeah, and you will find all those links in the show notes, of course, my friends. Michael, dude, thank you so much, man. It is really great to meet you. I have a feeling you and I are going to be breaking bread this summer, and hopefully I will be able to twist your arm into showing me a couple of the weird, wonderful spots.
Would love that
around West Virginia. Oh, dude! Well, this has been so much fun, buddy. Do you have any kind of inkling of? I know it's snowy there, cold, wintry, and what in your? Are you thinking about anything for dinner tonight? What's a winter's dinner going to be?
That's a good question. I don't know. We were talking about chili earlier before we hopped on.
Were.
I think chili. I might make some. I might run to town if I can get on the road. I might hop to town and go to make some the ingredients to make chili. So.
Yeah, you were inspiring me to maybe get. I was like, I don't want to go to the grocery store because I don't have the ingredients. But now I'm like, I think it's going to have to be chili.
I love a big old pot of chili. That's like my thing. You know what I mean?
Man,
it's nice Italian bread.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. Oh, you dip. Like, oh, good Lord. Yeah, I'm making chili tonight. We're gonna be the chili. We're gonna be brothers in chili this evening. So,
well, what's your favorite? What's your favorite food?
My favorite dish
all time. Island food. If you had to bring one food to an island to eat forever, what would it be?
It's going to sound very basic, but I just don't think there's any way I could live without spaghetti and red sauce.
Wow. Okay. That's a good answer.
I know it sounds basic. Lots of parm.
It's so good though. Yeah.
I mean, it's so good. I love Italian. I love all kinds of food. I love all Asian food. I love cooking so much, but like, I don't think there's a way I can live without it. So I would have to say just like really great pasta with a wonderfully lovingly made red sauce.
It's a great
answer.
What about you? Pizza. Pizza's my thing.
Yeah, pizza's it's. I mean, like after tomorrow, I'm gonna probably say pizza. It's what I crave the most. I mean, there is no life. I remember hearing Henry Rollins, like 30 years ago, once say they were like, he was a punk rocker, and they were asking him in this like Rolling Stone interview. It's like, well, why do you keep so fit? Like what? And he's like, it's a very simple answer. The longer I live, the more pizza I get. And I was like, God, man, I got to start exercising because he's right.
Yeah. He's always been in shape too. That I met him once, and like I saw him at a show. And,
I did too.
And he's like, he's like older, and he's like, that's the guy to listen to when it comes to fitness. Yeah. So
yeah, he's ripped.
Pizza's my answer though.
It's the right answer. It's the right answer, and everyone knows it.
That's right.
Michael, this has been so much fun, buddy. I want you to have an amazing rest of your week, and folks, please enjoy your dinners this evening. This has been another episode of Hi Strangers. Thank you very much. Ciao, babes.